Hello, this is Pastor Steve, and I'm here with your message of hope today. And one of the interesting things about understanding a people and a culture are the stories that they tell each other, and that tells you something about who they are as a people. And I'm going to look a little bit at some interesting stories that have been told in the past that help to illuminate some things that were seen as very honorable or noble. That today we maybe need to recapture a little bit. One of these is this. One of my favorite movies right here behind me is Casablanca with Humphrey Bogart. If you remember that movie, it's set during World War II in Casablanca. And Humphrey Bogart plays a character who runs into an old flame of his who is now married to somebody that's very important to the French resistance during World War II. And though she still has feelings for Bogart, and they were separated inadvertently, she is married now, and there's this real traumatic tension as to what Bogey's going to do. If you remember in the movie, his name is Rick, and Rick, we think perhaps Rick and Ilsa are going to run away together because they love each other, and that would be we think in one sense, the fulfilling thing to do. But at the end of the movie, there's a real twist, and I'll run it if you haven't seen it. It's from 1946, so I'm not really spoiling too much, but he puts her on the plane with her husband and says, I do love you and you love me, but our two lives together aren't worth a hill of beans, he says, compared to some of the big things that your husband represents and the way the world's going. And so in essence, he sacrifices his individual happiness for the good of the world in that sense. And that is why the movie's a classic. It's seen as noble. And that's one of the stories that we as Americans thought and told to ourselves. I mean, we were in the midst and right at the conclusion of our Second World War that we had participated in, even though most of the theater took place far, far away. We thought of ourselves as people who are willing to sacrifice their lives for the greater good. I'm not sure that movie would be made that way today. We seem to think that that's a foolish thing to do. And people more and more feel like that individual happiness is the truth, success, and mark in life. And I'm afraid we've lost something as a country. Kind of reminds me when I read the original Hans Christian Andersen version of The Little Mermaid, and then saw the Disney picture with my children, the significant changes that were made from the book to the movie. In the book, the young mermaid falls in love with the prince, but sees he would be better suited with another woman, and so she willingly sacrifices herself so that he can find true love and happiness. And in doing so, she dies and is taken to heaven by the angels. And of course, when Disney remade the movie, they turned the other woman into a witch and they killed her so that the Little Mermaid could live happily ever after with the prince. So her individual happiness became paramount, and the rival for that affection isn't someone that might be noble for the prince to end up with, but is a witch that to be killed. And it just makes me think, what have we lost with the sense that our individual happiness should not take priority over the good of the whole? Where do we get this idea that we see in these old books and movies of this sacrificial love, that people are willing to give up individual happiness for the good of the whole and of others? Well, of course, we get this from the gospel. I mean, that's how God works. I mean, in Revelation, in the great chapter 5, the Lamb is found worthy to open up the scroll of the book of life because he conquered through his sacrifice. That's where true worth, true power, true honor. And because of this, of course, all the angels and everybody on heaven and on earth said, "Worthy is the Lamb, and to him be glory and honor and praise." I worry that in our modern society, we have lost that sense of honor because we don't have an eternal vision. We seem to think our stories look more like stories where the only good choice is for individual happiness. And I don't know, that's not a recipe for long-term societal cohesion and success. So I'm hoping we can find some new stories that reveal the greatest story, the story of the gospel. That true glory and honor and power is when people are willing to sacrificially love and give of themselves for the greater good. This is Pastor Steve, and this is your message of hope for today.